Domino's sells more than 3 million pizzas every single day. So in this video, we're going to cover the top 7 psychological hacks that they've used in their marketing and in their business model that you probably will be able to apply in your business too, once you understand them. Psychology hack number 1 is avoiding decision fatigue. Decision fatigue is this idea in psychology that if you present the customer with too many choices at a time, that they become overwhelmed because there's so many different things to choose from. And as a result, don't end up buying any of them. So what Domino's does to avoid this decision fatigue is they structure their ordering experience step by step. If you open their website or their branded mobile app, what you'll notice is that they don't present you with the whole menu at first, like most restaurants do. Instead, what they present you with is just 3 options of the combo deals. And then if you don't take them up on a combo offer, you click into the full menu, they don't show you the full menu right away. What they show you is one category at a time, starting with the category that they most want you to view, the pizza category. This was interesting to me, because I used to think that it was better to provide the customer with as many options as possible. I thought that the more options that we give our customers, the more likely they are to buy from us, because the more likely they are to find an option that matches what they want. But then I read this famous study which completely changed my mind and made it clear why Domino's has set things up this way. That study happened in the year 2000, and it's about how people buy food. To set it up, the researchers, Sheena and Mark, created an experiment. They set up a booth with samples of jams for people to try in a supermarket. In one setup, they gave people 6 jam options to sample. And in the other setup, they gave them 24 jam options to sample. What was so interesting was that more people tried the jams when there were 24 options, but very few people actually bought any jams. Only 3% of samplers ended up buying in that version of the experiment. But when there were only 6 options, fewer people tried the jams, but then many more people bought them. The difference was 10 times the amount of people. When there are too many choices, people can feel overwhelmed, and it can be hard to make a decision, which then leads to lower sales. How can restaurant owners specifically apply this insight that Domino's has used to their advantage? By setting up their website, menu, and online ordering system so that people are viewing one category at a time and offering as few options as possible at any given point rather than as many as possible. On the homepage, there's a great place to do this, because rather than showing the guest your entire menu at first, you can have a section on your homepage, like Domino's does, where you just showcase the 3 or 4 most popular dishes that you want them to choose from first, rather than showing them the entire menu at once. The thinking is that if you can get them to fall in love with the pictures of one of the most popular dishes on the menu of the 4, say, that they're much more likely to want to become a customer and place a full order because they're not overwhelmed with having to select between 15 different entrees on the menu, like the jam experiment. They've just got a few of the most popular to begin their order with, which is why at Owner.com, our website builder product has a specific feature that's built for this purpose, to show a simplified menu preview of the most popular dishes, which we recommend placing in the first section that people see after they begin scrolling, so that after they understand what the restaurant does, they can quickly see what the most popular dishes are and make that buying decision without seeing the entire menu. By the way, this actually achieves another psychology hack, which Domino's has used, bringing us to number 2, price anchoring. When I first visited the Domino's website, something jumped out at me right away. The order that Domino's is showing us the items. They're showing the most expensive combo deal as the first thing you see on their menu. They do the same on their app if you look at their mobile app. They call it the perfect combo deal and say that it costs $19.99, which is actually one of the most expensive items on Domino's menu. Now here's where the psychology comes in. There's a famous study by Dan Ariely that proves why this is so powerful. In that study, Dan wanted to see if people's decisions about how much they'd pay for things could be influenced by the number they see right before they make a decision. He asked a group of people to write down the last 2 digits of their social security numbers to basically make them think of a random number and see what effect it would have. Then he showed them some items like bottles of wine, chocolate, and computer accessories. He asked the people if they would be willing to pay the amount of dollars that matched the last 2 digits of their social security numbers for each item. For example, if someone's last 2 digits of their social security number were 42, they'd have to decide if they'd pay $42 for a bottle of wine that he showed them. That wasn't the experiment though. That was the beginning of the experiment. Because after that, he had everyone participate in an auction to bid on the items. Now here's where things get interesting. They discovered that people who had higher social security number digits of the last 2 were willing to pay more for the items than those with lower digits. What they found was that just seeing the numbers from your social security number, whether they were high or low, actually influenced how much more you were willing to pay, how much more you thought items were worth, just based on that price that you saw first. This experiment showed how our ideas about the value of things can be completely changed by something as simple as seeing a number right before it. Which also explains why it's so powerful to lead with one of the most expensive menu items first. In their case, the $19.99 combo deal at the top of their menu and their website and their app has people thinking of a very high price, $19.99 for Domino's. So then when they see the cinnamon rolls for $5, it seems like an amazing deal by comparison, or the pizza for $14 or whatever it might be. But it's one of the most successful companies in the world, not just in the restaurant world, but in the entire world. It famously outperformed Apple, Facebook, Google, and Amazon for 7 straight years in the stock market, but it hasn't always been doing well. In 2009, it was struggling. Its growth was flat. So they knew that they needed to make a change, and they brought in a new CEO named J. Patrick Doyle, who changed their strategy from one of a restaurant company to that of a psychology and technology company. And then over the next few years, they tested thousands of things and found these psychological hacks to achieve absolutely bananas growth and success. Anyway, that brings us to the next psychology hack that Domino's actually used at the beginning of Jay's reign to kickstart their amazing growth back in 2009. Psychology hack number 3 is the pratfall effect. The pratfall effect is this idea in human psychology that when people make a mistake and then admit to it, we're more likely to trust them and like them than if they hadn't made any mistake at all. Like we covered at the start of this video, just over a decade ago, Domino's was really struggling. Their growth was declining, they had a reputation of having pizza that tasted like cardboard, which is not good, and they needed to make some serious changes to make their business work. And it was this idea that inspired their famous ad campaign back in 2009. That year, Domino's ran commercials which practically admitted that their pizza tasted like cardboard. In the commercials, Domino's showed their customers unhappily saying things like,
"Domino's tastes like cardboard with tomato paste and pepperoni on top." Yeah.
And then asked people to try the new recipe for their new pizza and give feedback.
You know what I have for you? Your comments helped us create a brand new pizza.
That feedback started to get way more positive and constructive throughout the commercial, and they showed the process of continually upgrading and making better that recipe.
It's delicious.
That they then relaunched with in 2009. I know a lot of people still say their pizza tastes like cardboard, but the brand is killing it. We can't deny that. And the changes helped to turn around the company's sales and overall reviews and customer satisfaction. Since then, their sales per unit literally have doubled. Their sales continue to grow at 10% per year, which is incredible at the scale that they've reached, doing multiple billions of dollars in sales. Independent restaurants can apply this by owning it when they launch new dishes that weren't popular. If you launch a dish that turns out to be a flop, you can tell your regulars who tried it but didn't really like it, something like, "I know our new birria tacos dish was pretty mediocre and I'm sorry for that. What do you think we should do to improve them? Or what other ideas do you have for dishes that you'd like to see on the menu?" Especially in an industry where chefs are known to be egotistical and arrogant and take offense when somebody doesn't like their dish, it's refreshing to the guest when people are honest and they admit mistakes and they admit things are imperfect. And it makes them more likely to like you and to like your restaurant and to give you feedback, which you can then use to succeed like Domino's when you admit your mistakes. In my company, I've done this exact strategy in acknowledging the parts of our platform that are weaker and then asking for feedback. And I've found that it leads to this incredible trust because of the pratfall effect. There's another key psychology hack that they've used for incredible explosive growth, and this is probably the biggest one underpinning their growth. But before we cover it, I've got a quick favor to ask of you. If you found this video interesting, then click that subscribe button down below to make sure you don't miss the future breakdowns that I create on the latest and greatest in growing a restaurant business. In helping thousands of restaurants grow over the past 5 years, I've learned a lot about restaurant marketing, which I share in weekly breakdowns here on this channel. Psychology hack number 4 is gamification. Using their loyalty program specifically. Domino's loyalty program is a form of gamification that rewards customers for repeat business. It makes it fun, rewarding, and even addicting to spend money with them, just like a game. This is a part of the reason why over 70% of Domino's total business now flows through their online ordering systems. By the way, it's not just Domino's that's utilizing a rewards program and the psychological benefit of it. There's a reason almost all of the top 50 restaurants by revenue in the entire United States have this in common. At least 48 out of the 50 have a rewards program in place. A famous study published in the International Journal of Hospitality Management in 2011 showed that loyalty programs not only increase the average check size because they make people feel like they're getting better value, therefore they're willing to spend more money, but it found that free rewards from loyalty programs also increase positive reviews, the likelihood to share the restaurant via word of mouth, and it increases the frequency of orders for regulars if it's set up properly. Rewards programs play on another important psychology hack, the idea of reciprocity, which brings us to psychology hack number 5, using reciprocity to increase cart size and regular loyalty. Reciprocity is this idea in psychology that we as humans have a desire to help people who first help us, who first give us stuff before they ask. Domino's uses it brilliantly by giving people free food as they're going through the ordering experience, which makes them more likely to say yes when they ask them if they want the upsells on the menu. In 1971, there was a scientist named Dennis who created a famous study that proved why reciprocity is so effective as a marketing strategy and as a business strategy. He wanted to learn more about why people do nice things for others. He thought that if somebody does something nice for you, you might feel like you need to do something nice for them too. So he created an experiment to prove out this idea. In that experiment, he invited people to look at some art and told them they would be working with a helper. Then during a short break, the helper gave the person a free soda for the break, or they did nothing at all in the other half of the cases. Then after the break, the helper asked the person who is in the experiment to buy some raffle tickets for a good cause. The person had no idea that that was a part of the experiment. But Dennis, the scientist, wanted to see if people who got a free soda from the helper would buy more raffle tickets when they were asked, compared to those that didn't get anything from the helper at all. And guess what? The people who got a free soda from the helper bought more raffle tickets by more than double. Dennis learned that when somebody does something nice for you or gives you something for free, you're way more likely to do something nice for them in return when they ask, even if you didn't ask for the favor in the first place. So you can see why as a restaurant, when you're giving regulars free items through a loyalty program every 2 or 3 orders, that it not only makes them feel good, but it makes them spend more money and more likely to order from you again, and more likely to leave you a positive review when you ask. It overall builds this incredible goodwill with the customer base that you can use in multiple ways. Speaking of reciprocity, Now that I've given you 5 awesome psychology hacks that you can apply in business, I have a small favor to ask in return. I think you see what I did there. But if you've enjoyed this so far, then click that like button and take just 15 seconds to comment down below which of these psychology hacks that we've covered so far you've found the most interesting. Anyway, back to the video. That brings us to psychology hack number 6, the power of expectation setting. We all know how much humans, especially younger humans in Gen Z and millennials, love convenience. It's something that they just can't live without, speaking from my generation, Gen Z. But there's nothing more inconvenient when you order food than having to call the restaurant multiple times to get updates on where it is, or like make sure it's still coming because it's been 45 minutes and they said 20 minutes. So Domino's famously were the first to invent the solution to this one, the automated driver tracking on their app and the status updates that you get after you place an order so that you always are in the loop and always have your expectations properly set about when the food is gonna arrive. Now, this has become the standard not just in Domino's, but in DoorDash's business and Uber Eats' business. And there was a study published in 2016 in the International Journal of Logistics Research, which proves scientifically why this is so important to consumers. In 2016, 3 researchers wanted to find out what happens when online shops tell customers how long it will take for their orders to arrive. They also wanted to know how long people are willing to wait for the orders before they become unhappy, and the effect that expectation setting had on their overall levels of satisfaction. When shops gave accurate estimates of when the orders would arrive, people were actually more satisfied than with shorter times that were quoted as being even shorter. So if the shop said it'll be there in 1 day and then it took 2, they were more upset than if the shop said it'll be there in 3 days and it took 3. In an interview I saw with the head of data analytics at Domino's, he stated the exact same study and said that they ran one just like it internally, where the #1 most predictive factor in whether people reordered from Domino's online was the accuracy of the quote time that they got. So if your restaurant doesn't already do live driver tracking and status updates to make sure that guests' expectations are always properly met, then I highly recommend finding a solution which does do that, because it creates a 10 times better delivery experience. This feature is also key for getting customers to order from your website or your app instead of delivery apps like Grubhub and Uber. Anyway, convenience and expectation setting aside, there's one more major psychology hack that Domino's uses to increase sales. That's psychology hack number 7, using scarcity to drive sales. Scarcity is when there's a limited amount of something, and it makes people want it much more. People want what they can't have. That much is obvious. Domino's uses scarcity constantly by having a deals page on their website and their app that they're constantly switching around, and notifying people on their email list or text list about the new deal that they're running this weekend for the Super Bowl. It gives people a constant, clear reason to act that they're going to lose if they don't move forward. It drives scarcity because it's a limited time offer, and it helps them push specific menu items and limited time promotions. For example, they might offer a discount or special pizza that is only available for a limited time. It's that urgency that gets people to buy items which they otherwise wouldn't, because they feel like they're going to miss out and lose the item, lose the opportunity unless they move forward in the limited time that they have. This one is simple and obvious, but super powerful to use, which is why I've got a bonus for you. I know you were thinking, Adam, give us an encore. I know I promised 7, but I like to under-promise and over-deliver. So here's a really important one to finish off this video that I know Domino's also uses. Bonus psychology hack number 8 is social proof to attract new customers, and how they get that social proof is reciprocity. Because when you first place your online order on their app, they show you how many loyalty points you have. So what a pleasant surprise. I just placed a $30 order and got 300 slice of the pie points, which is what they call the rewards program. Then, shortly after giving you points, they ask you for a review. This is brilliant. And it's how they've built up to 7 million reviews on the app stores, which then leads to getting more customers. Why is it so powerful? Because according to data from Grubhub, 70% of people reference online reviews when deciding whether to order from a restaurant and what to order. And they're not just referencing review content, they're referencing how many reviews there are and what the average star rating is. So if you give somebody something for free, like rewards points, right before you ask them to give you a 5-star review, is it reasonable to assume they'll give you a 5-star review more of the time? Yes. Yes, it is. And that's what Domino's does. That's how they have 7 million reviews on the App Store, because as we saw from the reciprocity idea we covered earlier, they're that much more likely to comply with an ask once you give them something for free. By the way, our platform at Owner.com has a feature that integrates with the online ordering system and does this automatically, sending people a text and an email 2 hours after their order is complete, asking for feedback and telling them about how many points they got. Then asking them if the feedback was positive to post that positive review online. It drives incredible results for restaurants because people want what people want. When they see a lot of people giving something very positive reviews, they're significantly more likely to buy it. It's just part of human nature, and it's something you can use to your advantage in combination with reciprocity and asking for reviews after you've given something of unexpected free value. Okay, so that's the end of this video on Domino's. But if you want another video which breaks down the marketing superpowers that restaurants get from having their own branded mobile app, which Domino's certainly has done, and we have more Domino's examples in that video, then click to the right of me right now. I'll put it on screen. In that video, I share real data from real restaurants, the before and afters they've seen in terms of sales, in terms of frequency, in terms of transaction sizes, so that you get more context on why mobile apps are so important for restaurants. Hope again that this video was useful to you, and if it was, then please click that like button and that subscribe button down below. It would truly mean a lot, and make sure that you never miss out on the videos that I post here on this channel about the latest and greatest in growing a restaurant business.